So we'll start with Article 15, which is Heritage Preservation Capital Reserve Fund request. And I know Becky is here. Is Nate here? Becky. All right, Becky Mitchell from the Heritage Commission.
Nate would have been here tonight, but he's trying to secure things on the farm in advance of whatever form of precipitation we get. And since I'm not very good with a front-end loader, I'm here. And he's out there moving manure. So this article is to raise the funds to be put into the Heritage Preservation Fund. $150,000. Well, what is going to be done with that money? This came up because of a demolition permit application, as a matter of fact. Last fall, the Stratham Old Town Hall, which is in the town center, which has been owned privately for the last 20 years approximately, was sold. And along with that, the lot next to it that had the Parker House on it. And actually, even before that sale was finalized, the demolition application was permitted to demolish both structures. So the, the Demolition Review Committee met, and we, of course, actually determined both of them had historical significance. And we invoked 30-day delay period. At the last minute, a person came forward, and she was seriously interested in moving the house, the Parker House at 148, but by the end of 30 days, she didn't have a concrete enough proposal together, so the building was demolished. That's one reason why we're asking for 60 days, to give us more time to possibly negotiate with an owner to come up with an alternate plan. 30 calendar days, it simply isn't enough to enter into that kind of complicated public hearing process and involving the public, getting publicity out, trying to come up with solutions, document the building before it's demolished, that sort of thing. But I'm here to talk about the Heritage Preservation Fund and why we want $150,000 for it. The Old Town Hall is, I hope you'll agree with me, unquestionably historic. It has been nominated and determined eligible for the New Hampshire State Register of Historical Places. It would have been determined so eligible also for the National Register, except for the fact that it has vinyl siding, and that disqualifies the structure from the National Register. It achieved that status following a presentation to the State Historical Resources Council for two very, it leapt two very high barriers. One is it was determined eligible because of its architectural distinction. There's no other building like that, like this in Stratham, and as far as anybody's been able to determine, there's no other town hall in the state that was built in this particular style. So, that may or may not be impressive to you, but for people like myself who care about architectural history in our state, that does pull some weight. But also, I think even more telling is the fact that this building really holds well over 100 years of Stratham life in its bones. This is not just where town meetings were held or where town offices were, but this is where everything in this town happened. There's no single structure in the town at this point that embodies that kind of thing. I mean, every single thing happened in that building. All kinds of celebrations, getting together, people now can remember playing games there, but there were concerts, there were recitals, there were magic shows, there were big dinners, there were, it was really the heart and soul of the community. And it was sold by the town in 1997. And you want to say, well, if it was sold in 1997, why should we care about it now? I honestly think that when that vote was taken, the town was concerned about raising the money to convert this building from a school building to a building that would serve as a municipal center. And selling the Old Town Hall was a source of funds to do that. I don't think anybody really imagined that somebody would come along and want to demolish the Old Town Hall. It just seemed you know, there weren't a lot of buildings being torn down 20 years ago in town, but we're seeing more and more pressure now as the economy heats up and there are more development opportunities opening up. So, as I said, the Old Town Hall was sold to a new buyer last fall, and the demolition application was submitted. We've been lucky that the new owner, who's a local developer, Mark Pulowski, has been willing to meet with the Heritage Commission and to talk to us about finding alternatives to demolishing the building, something that suits his financial and development needs and also meets our standards for preserving enough of the building that it's not a total loss. So what we've come up with is a tool called the preservation easement. A preservation easement works somewhat like a conservation easement. This town has negotiated a number of highly significant conservation easements that have preserved a lot of open land all over the town. Under a preservation easement, the property stays in private ownership and on the tax rolls. It's not like you're buying the property. We're not proposing that the town buy this. It will still stay in private hands. The easement will prevent the owner and all future owners from demolishing the building or moving it from the site. It will also serve to protect over time certain defining features that should be preserved. So basically the easement compensates the owner for the reduction of value by having these restrictions placed on the building. Because obviously if you're selling a building that has some restrictions attached to it, you know, you're not going to be able to get as much money for it, basically. So this kind of helps to bridge that difference. So the warrant article asks that the town meeting votes to appropriate $150,000 to the Heritage Preservation Fund. This fund was established at town meeting to support preservation projects in our town. Disbursements from that fund for this purpose or any other must be approved by the Board of Selectmen after a public hearing. So you will continue to have a say, and you have a say in how this money is spent. $150,000 in this instance represents a one-time payment for homeowners of approximately $42 for the median Stratham homeowner. Again, the property will stay in private hands, generating tax revenue for the town. And I have some flyers out there that go over the process a little bit more. I'm happy to answer your questions. Dave Canada's here. He's the planning board representative to the Heritage Commission. He can jump in if he has something to say also. But I encourage you to read the flyer and come to your own decision. Yes, Ken, please.
Do we know what the developer wants to do with the building if it's approved, the $150,000?
He has made a preliminary presentation to the Technical Review Committee and is scheduled, I don't know if it's going to take place, but scheduled to make a presentation to the Planning Board tomorrow evening here. And I attended the Technical Review Committee presentation, and he presented a proposal for both the parcel where the house was demolished and for the town hall. And his plan at this point is to put 4 or 5 apartments in the old town hall. It will entail, I don't know if you know, but there was a fire in the 1950s at the rear of the town hall that sort of destroyed the back of the building, and the stage was gone and so forth. So in our discussions with him, we've said, we don't care what you do with the back of the building. We do care. We want to have some say about how it's going to look, but you can add on at the back of the building. So he would be doing some additions at the back of the building, mostly to accommodate some of the more modern types of systems that he would need for those apartments. I mean, as a preservationist, I would have loved to have seen a use that preserved the hall space, but if you've got a developer in hand who, could basically by law could be tearing it down right now, you're not going to quibble about, that much. You have to give some to get some, you know. Yeah, Nancy.
Oh, me? So my question is, if this doesn't pass, what are his plans to do with that land?
Demolish it and build a new building on it.
So would we get more tax revenue from that building, or?
I think he's planning to build a single building that would have approximately the same number of apartments on it. Partly because with no water and sewer, there is a restriction about, he's already going to build a commercial building that would have 2 apartments upstairs and a second building that has 4 apartments. Couldn't remember, yeah. So, you know, the septic capacity and water capacity of those 2 lots wouldn't allow, you know, a high, you know, some really high. And I think he has determined, and I've talked with several commercial real estate people about this and appraisers and so forth, and they feel that the residential use is actually probably going to be the highest, you know, producing structure that you could do there.
Does the town receive the same amount in taxes with or without a preservation easement on that? When the town is taxing
Yeah.
that property?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that, I mean, I don't know enough about, do you have any experience with that, Dave?
Well, it would be based on its value, to the extent it's a reduction of value because of the preservation easement, that would lower its assessment a little bit, I guess. It's really kind of undefined. I don't think it would impact it too much because the way commercial property is valued is largely by income. So I don't think there really would be a reduction. However, this building is eligible for a 79E treatment. RSA 79E is a means by which the town has adopted the provisions of that by redeveloping a historic structure, saving a historic structure, that you get certain tax breaks. So to be perfectly honest, it'd be a little less tax for the first 10 years, saving the old building as opposed to building a new building. But that's just the price we pay for a worthy endeavor, I think. Did I answer your question?
I think so.
All right, if in case it doesn't pass, it would be awfully nice at the town meeting, this is the town meeting, that we had a picture for the taxpayers, what it might look like if you preserve the town hall and if this builder does not preserve the town hall. So we can see what we're buying. You know, for aesthetics, I mean, I don't think he's going to make this ultra-modern building. That's not his style building. But it would be awfully nice to see what it's both going to look like in the end.
I can tell you a little bit about that without, I'll try to draw you a picture with words. This building, the old town hall building, is what I call an only in Stratham building. It's unique to our town. Both in, I mean, it's unusual in its appearance, but what it embodies is experience that's unique to this town. Based on what I've seen of the appearance of the buildings that he's proposing for the lot next door, they're buildings that could be any town. They could be in any town. They are generic, I mean, attractive, clean, neat, tidy, you know, all those things. But you, looking at them, you wouldn't say, wow, that really looks like Stratham. You know, it looks like it could be in Billerica, or it could be in...
The elevations are on the planning board website, so if you go to the town's website and planning board and current planning board projects, the entire packet. I mean, everything you want to know about grading and subject to building elevations is on there.
For this project?
Not for the building that would potentially replace the old town hall, but you can see this is what is coming with the project and there's what's there.
Okay. So the easement or the heritage or...
I'm sorry, can we let him go because he was next?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So if the voters approve the $150,000, that now becomes an investment of the town into this building. My question is, if next year the building burns down, let's say it burns down totally to the ground. What, if the builder doesn't want to build it exactly the same way, or he wants to build something else like his original project now because it's burned totally to the ground, what do we have to hold on to with that $150,000 investment?
Okay, one of the provisions of our contract will be to require that he insure it with us as a named insurer. So if it does burn down within a certain time period, we'll get reimbursed. So I think that'll protect the town.
So the preservation is just really, if he's putting apartment buildings on the inside of it, it's just the outside of the building that we're trying to save. So it's not preservation of any of the woodwork that's in there or the stairwells. All that has to go up to code if it's going to be.
Well, we've talked with him about, you know, that it would be in his best interest to preserve as much of the detailing and the interior, some of the molding, and if possible, we've gone over how it would be to save elements of the staircase, and that I think he's very interested in saving the foyer period, the foyer arrangement where there's an embossed tin ceiling and there are doors on either side and double doors in the middle, that this would fit into a plan. But I honestly think that if we had meddled more in being, I mean, the actual terms of these haven't been fully fleshed out yet, but generally we're taking the viewpoint that if we were becoming more and more restrictive of what he could do on the inside, he'd want a whole lot more, you know, it would just take more from the town. And when you think about what we as residents of this town see and appreciate is knowing that that building is there, seeing it in relation to some of the other structures, historic structures in the town center. That's what really matters. You know, that's the essence of it.
Go ahead. And I would like to look it up, but we can't pull it up. What did the building sell for?
I think it was like 300.
Anybody?
No, yeah, I think it was
$299. So it went pretty cheap.
About $290, yeah.
Why did the town, if the building is so important, and I love an old building, right? Why didn't the town then buy it and raise funds to buy it? Are we not allowed to do that? Why was this not done proactively before he even bought it?
especially since the town center, that we just spend so
Right.
much money on sidewalks. This is such a quaint part with the, you're driving through, you slow down, there's a
And it was
beautiful
short
quaint
money.
building.
You know, we'd like to preserve this. There was absolutely no appetite from the Board of Selectmen for purchasing, that town purchasing the building. There's indeed an effort to not have the town acquire more buildings. And, I mean, I think that would have been a really tough sell to the town voters to acquire a building that then we would have to worry about finding a use for, collecting rents on, renovating, bringing it up to code, whatever. I think that would have been a hard sell.
Was there any thought of private fundraising?
Yes, and no. I mean, the feeling here is that the town has, as its vision statement for the master plan, this town wants to see well-preserved historic resources, that this is a commitment on the part of the town. The town voted to have a heritage commission, and our mission is to protect historic resources. So like conservation easements, we didn't tell, townspeople that they have to raise the millions of dollars that the town has put into conservation easements. Likewise, I think that if the town really is true to its stated vision that they voted for with the master plan, that you want to see these protected historic resources, then I think that this is a matter for the town to decide on.
I want to do like maybe 2 more questions so that we can still talk about some other things.
I heard a request during the town meeting if it could be presented what the building would look like next to it, et cetera, this and that. I didn't hear, can we do that or not? I mean, we got a small group here, and I know a lot of us aren't gonna go on the internet and try to check whatever this technological plans, this, and that are, but I think it would be very helpful, because there's gonna be more people voting at the town meeting, okay, that to just say we need 150,000 is more than, you know, I think they need to see what the alternatives are, et cetera, for them to make wise judgment, et cetera. And then you should also say, you know, about the historical value of this. You mentioned the inside. Is it going to be a public where we can go in and see the stairwells and this and that? So, I mean, you know, you got to give alternatives and show why we need to spend 150,000.
Do you want to comment on that?
Well, I think you can go to any library you want, or Google nice-looking buildings and pick any building you want. It could go there. You know, what you need to do is drive by the town hall and see if you want that gone or not.
Well, I've been here 30 years. Theoretically, I would not want it gone, but I'm going, you're going to go into and have a town of people who
Well, and I'd say
are
the same
making the
thing.
decision.
Visualize the blank space there and then put any building you want. Because Mark can build anything he wants there. There is no one specific building. I mean, he's got an idea. He wants it to be
Well,
sympathetic to what he's building next door.
Okay, you're going to go into a town meeting and tell people to visualize what you want to spend $150,000.
Well, would it be better if we picked the building and said, okay, this is what's going to go there?
And make me feel better,
Well, we don't know what's going to go there.
Yeah, they don't know.
you know?
You two need to have a couple of cookies and
Yeah.
have that out after, which is great. I'm going to take one more question.
Well, my question is, I've been a part of kind of this area's community for a long time, and I know in Portsmouth and in Exeter they have apartments in historic buildings where they've also kept the inside intact, and different historical societies have made it so that the people living there can give tours to the public of the historic space. And I'm just wondering if that's a possibility of something that could be done with the town hall and the apartments created there.
Well, it would be nice if they had an open house kind of thing, but you know, we don't own the building. That's something you would have to take up with the owner. My hope that would be that if this does go through and he saves it, that he would be proud of the work that's done and would let people see it. It's a small, compared to some of the buildings like in Exeter or in Portsmouth that have been, or Newmarket or whatever, that have been put into historic buildings, it's a small space. And, you know, it's dependent upon residents wanting to, renters wanting to let people into their homes. I once had an apartment in an old church, and I did open that apartment at Christmas time, and it was a pretty funny experience.
Also good over cookie.
Thank you
It was
so
to
much.
benefit
The library, so I did.
All right. Big round of applause.
Can I have this? And you can have another one? Okay. We'll work it out. Thank you so much, Becky.